Today, I want to talk about 4 very basic, easy things that you can do to improve your musicianship. Hey everybody, my name is Travis Mark. I'm the host of the Musician's Mentor podcast, and now this Musician's Mentor YouTube channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. Do me a favor while you are here regardless and hit that subscribe button. Also, feel free to drop comments, share, or just get involved as I continue to try and build this channel. Today, I thought I would take a break from all the sort of philosophy type videos I put up and the motivational videos I put up and the interviews I put up and basically talk about 4 very easy things that you can implement into your day-to-day basis, even if you don't have an instrument, so that you can improve your individual musicianship. The first thing I would suggest is spending time with a metronome. So again, you don't necessarily need your instrument to do this, but keep a metronome on, count along with it. Learn how to use your metronome in different variations so you aren't always going with the out-the-box 4/4 type beats that they come with. Maybe put it on half beats and see how good your time is on those quarters in between. You can sing different rhythms along to it. Just be critical of your timing so that you can develop more of a pulse. So when it does come to playing your instrument, you have an overall sense of feel within the time that you're playing. Also, in regards to a metronome, I would strongly suggest that you don't get stuck in the same BPM. You know, a lot of people will be practicing the same BPM all the time. Diversify, because you might be really good at 80 BPM, hypothetically, and then you put it on, 125 and you might not be so good, or 200, whatever it is. There are no restrictions, but try and diversify, even if it means you pick one tempo a week. And again, you don't need your instrument to do this. At risk of sounding like a complete geek here, I used to put headphones in and walk. So if my metronome was tick, 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 I'd be walking. And you can do the same. It's just a way to internalize pulse. At number 2, and I would really say that this should apply for all musicians, not just melodic players, but at very least, you should try and learn your key signatures, how those key signatures relate to scales, minor and major, and how those scales or the degrees in those scales can inform chord placement and chord structure. It sounds like a lot, but when you look at the grand scheme of music theory, this is just a tip of the iceberg, and realistically, it can get you through everything. You can basically relate everything to a key, learn the number system within that key, because then eventually you can build scales and chord structures on top of that. So this is really good for songwriters or melodic players, pianists, guitar players, bass players, anything that can create melodies or harmonies. At number 3, even if you have no inclination to become a singer, practice singing. Try and copy melodies. And I would even go as far as saying maybe imitate the vocalists or the singers that you like. Not to try and get that tone, but at least so that your voice potentially can figure out how those tones are created. You know, everyone's got a different voice and a different tonality, but there are ways that you can steal things from singers you like. And even if you don't sound anything like them, you learn how certain phrases work, how certain breathing works. Additionally, the more you practice singing and copying melodies, eventually, and hopefully, you can start trying to train your ear a little bit to hear intervals. And you don't have to go down a really scientific road with this and know all of them. But if you can hear basic intervals, thirds, fifths, and octaves, that increases your value as a musician, because now, 9 times out of 10, you can sing harmony in the bands that you're in. Yes, there are different harmonies besides thirds and fifths and octaves, but those are very common, especially within contemporary music. So practice singing, even if it's done so without the intention of becoming a lead vocalist. Additionally, this is also another way to practice timing. So it goes back to working with the metronome. Melodic phrases within songs are just rhythmic phrases in time. So it's all relative. And lastly, and this one's probably going to sound way too simple, but again, it helps subconsciously improve your know-how. listen to different genres of music. Once again, at risk of sounding like a geek, I went through a few years where I would do a different genre a day for years. So hypothetically, I would listen to metal on a Monday. I would listen to reggae on a Tuesday, hip hop on a Wednesday, jazz on a Thursday, pop on a Friday, and then whatever I wanted on a Saturday or whatever. Now that's quite methodical. I'm not saying you have to do that, but there is time in the day to do this. If you're taking walks, if you're in the car on journeys, if you're on a train, a bus, maybe while you're cooking. I'm not saying you've got to listen all day, every day, but start exposing yourself to these genres. And again, depending on where you foresee yourself going, this actually opens many doors for you, because if you get called to do a reggae gig and you've at least exposed yourself to that genre, you can say yes. Or if you're working as an engineer or producer and someone says, can you produce this country record? And all you've ever listened to is rock, well, chances are you're not going to do their record justice. So expose yourself to different genres. It's actually quite cool. I don't know why so many people lock themselves in these doors with only one genre. You wouldn't do that with food. Can you imagine you only ate one type of food for the rest of your life? I can't. It would drive me nuts. So think of music in the same way. Diversify, diversify, diversify. There is good in all of it, even in the stuff you might not think is good. And I say that with experience because there have been certain genres or songs that have come out over my years of doing this that at first I was like, well, that's kind of garbage. But you learn that you can learn from it and that maybe your garbage is somebody else's gold mine. So I hope that helps. If you have anything to add, please do drop a comment below. I will see you on the next one.